to lift the hips up. And first thing I just kind of wanted to talk about before we get going in the practice is it was so interesting just to hear all these people have low back pain, whether you're in your yoga class or just everyone around you. There's so many people with low back pain, and it makes you think about how you need to adjust your practice, whether it's jiu-jitsu, yoga, whatever you're doing. And it's a really good reminder because this practice, it changes all the time. Throughout my whole life, I expect my practice from when I'm 25 to look very different from when I'm 50, 75. And the practice, it changes not just because we're all aging, but because of things that we're going through, whether it's a low back, the whole yoga practice changes with a hurt low back. Maybe that looks like taking child's pose for an hour or just laying there. Maybe it's like what Tom's got. He's got a low back routine that he does, just kind of sticking to the things that you know that are good for you. And that goes with any injury, especially since we're all at home. We're a lot more likely to be injured when we're working out. And the other thing is just changing our practice with life. We're all experiencing loss right now with this pandemic. And even though there's some similarities between all of our losses in this, it's very different person to person. So some days have been so rough that I need to sweat and kind of work out the frustrations. And sometimes because of that loss, I just need to lay down and do nothing. So changing your practice in that way as well. So if you've come to the practice tonight, this week, and you've got a hurt low back, just using that as a reminder to gently attend to your health and allow your practice to evolve and change and modify as you need. So if we're doing something tonight that is meant for your low back to feel good, but it just doesn't, don't do it. Do your own thing. Ask for modification. Use your blanket, your props, things like that. And then hopefully by the end of class, the low back should be feeling good and you've got some tools to use for when your low back hurts again. So if you just want to get seated with a tall spine, think about drawing up in the spine from your hips all the way up the spine to the top, the crown of your head, just gently pulling up and letting the shoulders drop, softening the muscles of your jaw, relaxing your tongue, dropping your tongue from the top of the roof of your mouth, just letting it drop down, relaxing the muscles in the jaw, all the way down your neck and chest. And letting the eyes be closed, heavy. Softening your weight into the ground. And we can shift our awareness to everything that's outside of us, around us. Visualizing the space that you're seated in. And visualizing what that space looks like. And visualizing yourself seated in that space. And drawing in deeper, Scanning the temperature of your body. Feeling out how your muscles are doing. If you're feeling sore or relaxed. Feeling the weight of your bones. And withdrawing in deeper to the breath. Bringing attention to the space in your chest. Or you can feel the buoyancy of the breath, of your heartbeat. And just feeling that sensation out a bit more. And lengthening out the breath to a longer, deeper inhale. Slowly letting that exhale out. Seeing if you can really slow down the breath. And just a couple more rounds where we're breathing deeply and slowly as we can. Last round of breath, really deep, big inhale, big exhale out. Gently opening your eyes, bringing your attention back. We're gonna slowly move our body forward, getting off of the pillow that we're using. And we're just gonna sit back into sesa. And before we get going with our yin postures for the low back, we're gonna do our body CARs. CARs stands for controlled articular rotations. And so we'll just go through each main part of the body all the way down. We're gonna start with our neck. And so remember that it's called a controlled articular rotation. So you're controlling it. You can feel each part of the movement, the muscle. That's the articulate part. And you're going your full range of motion. So you can switch directions whenever you want. Slowing things down with the breath. Scanning for areas in the neck that are more tense. Seeing if you can soften that area. One more circle, whatever direction. And we'll come back to a neutral neck. And drop the shoulders down as much as you can. And then our right arm, palm up. We're going to lift it up a little bit higher chest level. And then bring this right arm towards the left. And you're going to hit a point where there's tension and you can't go much more. Pause there. And then we're lifting the arm up towards the ear. Flipping the palm out. We're going to rotate back full range of motion, keeping the palm facing out the whole time. Slowly all the way down. And then once your arm is low towards your hip, we're gonna do this motion of twisting the doorknob to get our palm back up, and then lift the arm back up to the ear. We're keeping tension here, so it shouldn't be a loose arm. Trying to engage these muscles as we go back diagonally and down. Very nice. To the other side now, left arm above the chest to the right arm. Moving up, flipping the palm out, rotating back. This is the trickiest part here. See if you can keep the palm out and really go that full range of motion. Once your hand slow, twisting the doorknob back all the way up to the other side and down. Very nice. Okay, now we're going to move on to the ribs. So we're going to cross our arms, and this will take figuring out. So it's okay if the first couple ones you're just kind of feeling it out. We're going to try not to move our hips, but have all the motion in our ribs. So we're going off to the right side, just kind of like a side crunch. So you feel this stretch in the left rib cage, and then going down, hunching over towards the left side crunch, and then opening up the chest all the way back, a little bit of a back bend here. And then let's just do that again. Thinking about not moving the hips if you can help it, and just rotating through the rib cage. And then we'll switch directions when you've made it. And we'll do 2 on this other side. Trying not to hold our breath. And when you're ready, no rush. We can move the rib cage in circles. Again, not the hips. Try not to move the shoulders as much, but our main focus is the ribs. If you could draw a complete circle, switching directions, going slow. Very nice. We'll crawl out to tabletop, where our right knee is going to go up and our foot is flexed. We're going to lift that knee up high as we can. Bring it out to the side, lifting the heel up, bringing the right knee to your right tricep, and down. Let's do that one more time, lifting up, out to the side, lifting the heel, bringing it towards the tricep, back where we started. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, left leg, 2 rounds on your own time. Using the breath. Very nice. When you're ready, no rush. You can sit back to seated position. And with our left leg bent in, we're going to hug this right knee. And we're just going to use our eyes to drop down this pinky all the way to the side. And then the big toe all the way to the other side. And so you can start just looking at the toe, making sure that you're digging through the heel. That's what we're pivoting on. Try and drop that toe each way. Once you've got that down, you can move your gaze up to your kneecap, and right below the patella bone, you can see this little bump, and you can see your tibia. It's going to rotate with it. And if you don't see it rotating, that's your cue that maybe you need to flex the foot and try to drop it down more. And then you should feel that bone move. Let's do a couple more. Really good way to warm up the knees before working out or doing yoga. And we'll switch to the other side. Just trying to slow it down. The slower you go, the harder it gets. Just making sure that we're not holding on tight to the breath. Very nice. Do a couple more. Awesome. Okay. So we are going to get into a wide leg child's pose. We're going to start the low back sequence now. So as you set your head down, you can stamp the forehead on your mat, left and right, smoothing out any tension. Maybe you can widen the knees, sit back a little bit more. And when you're ready, putting the weight down through your elbows to pull yourself forward onto your stomach. And this left leg is going to stay out in a 90-degree box shape. And you can kind of look up in the camera and check with yourself, is my right leg all the way back, and is my left leg a 90-degree angle? And once you've got that, it feels square. We can extend the arms out for resting frog pose. It's half frog here. And again, if you want, you can stamp the forehead. And try to drop down both hips, but especially that left one, just trying to drop it down. And we'll take about 2 more slow, deep breaths here. And then when you're ready, just sending that left leg back, and then getting the right leg in that same 90 degree. If you need to check with the camera for a mirror, that's fine. And just same thing, resting the head. You can stamp the forehead and just lengthen the breath. Slow down. And we can push up and place a little bit of weight into our elbows, bring the elbows near us. We can lift our hips up and widen the knees. The toes can touch at first. And once your knees are as wide as as is comfortable. You can take your toes that are touching and get them apart to be in line with each knee. And then from there, you can stay there, or you can slowly stretch out. Just make sure that you're not in pain. And frog pose can look very different. It can look flat, but if that hurts, your hips can be up high and you can melt the chest. So whatever variation of this frog pose you need, we'll just take a couple slow breaths here, letting the weight of our body ground into the mat and our muscles relax. One more deep breath, breathing into the low back. And we can gently straighten the legs, and we can extend the right arm out directly to the side of you, and we're going to roll our body towards the right side. The left leg is going to step behind the right one, flaring that left knee open. See if you can flare it a little bit more. And then slow down the breath. See if you can soften the left hip muscle here. Relaxing the jaw, and the shoulders and hips. And gently we're gonna roll onto our stomach and just slowly make our way to the other side, the left arm out, pulling on the left side of our body. Right leg steps behind and that right knee flares open, opening up the hip and breathing into this space. Let's take 2 more deep breaths here. Gently rolling back onto our stomach. And we can just come onto our forearms. And if you've got your rolled blanket or a towel nearby, we're going to put it underneath our rib cage and really use your hand to find the bones of your rib cage right where it meets your sternum. And you can find that point and place that sternum, that rib cage connection right onto the blanket. And this is why a foam roller can be a bit much. You'll get a deeper back bend. And so we can ground down through the elbows here. Let the shoulders drop. And get a little bit of a front neck stretch. And feel free to close the eyes. Grounding down through the hips. Grounding down through both quads. And the tops of our feet are heavy into the mat. Actively engaged here for Sphinx pose. We can feel the sensation in our mid to low back and breathe into that space. Let's take 2 more deep breaths here, really slowing the breath down. And when you're ready, we can gently push ourselves up out of Sphinx to tabletop. And I'm going to turn sideways so you get a better view. I'm going to move the rolled up blanket and we're going to put the tops of our knees and our thighs on it for bow pose. So usually bow pose, we're reaching for our feet and we only have our stomach down, but now this rolled up blanket is elevating the knees up and you can feel the hips drop down, and that's what's mostly holding your weight other than your forearms supporting you. And this is one of those things, if it really doesn't feel good for the low back, don't do it. You can go back to a child's pose or see how this feels without the blanket. But we can hang out here for just a couple breaths, seeing if we can slow it down. Adding a little bit of softness to the pose. Seeing if we can release tension in small ways. Maybe it's our jaw, our shoulders, or back. And 2 more deep breaths here. All right, we can push back onto our knees. And you can get that rolled up blanket, move it up towards your wrist, and set your head on the blanket for a wide-legged child's pose, letting the hips fall back and drop down. One thing you can do with your arms here, if you'd like to drop the chest a little bit more, is to lift both hands up and bring your hands to touch the back of your shoulder blades here. And gently melting down the heart. One more deep breath. Gently coming out of child's pose. We can remove the blanket or towel. And we're gonna get into sleeping swan pose. So last time, and we talked about how when your foot is closer to your groin, it's a lot easier. And this is called sleeping swan. But if you'd like to go further than that for pigeon, that's more of a 90-degree angle that might need a prop underneath the right hip. So it's up to you. If you need something a bit more restorative, go for sleeping swan. That's what I'm going to do tonight. And sleeping swan, everything's in a straight track and line. So just making sure that everything feels good before you melt into it. And dropping the head. We'll be here for about a minute or so. So we can scan the body and see if there's any areas that we're holding tension in the jaw, the shoulders, and spine, the hips. Gently softening these areas with the breath. Each inhale and exhale, creating a little bit more space to be here with ease. And when you're ready, you can gently begin to move the body and push yourself up. Just to sit off to the side. Swap legs, maybe do a couple windshield wipers just to get a little bit of blood flow and movement in the hips. That should feel nice.
Sorry.
Make sure that we're awake. Okay, we can switch to the other side now. And please take your time getting into the pose. More time that you take, more likely that you'll be comfortable. Again, you can do sleeping swan or half pigeon. You can also use the blanket to set your head on. Anything that feels good. Coming back to a lengthened breath where we're really slowing down the inhale with an even longer exhale, emptying the breath out and breathing into the space where you feel the most sensation. And each breath adding a little bit of ease to the pose and a bit more relaxation. And when you're ready, gently pushing up, sitting off to the side, going into a windshield wiper position, feeling the blood flow on the hips, coming back to the breath. We're gonna make our way onto our back, and what we can do is, if you'd like to do a couple rocks, just kind of get the energy going. We're gonna move into a shoulder stand, plow pose. So when you're ready, you could start to try that out, lifting the hips with the support of your hands. And maybe it takes a couple times to get there, that's fine. And if it feels okay, just seeing, maybe we can reach towards the floor. Your feet don't have to touch, but just reaching towards the floor. And if the toes do get close to the floor or touch, I'm going to challenge you to bend both knees and bring them into your ears. If your feet are not quite on the floor, just see if you can lift the hips a bit higher, reaching the feet back. And this is great. I know that the breath is a little shallow. That's okay. Just as long as we're breathing here. Filling all that space in the low back. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And if you're in snail pose with the knees towards your ears, see if you can go a little bit deeper, dropping the knees, squeezing the knees into the ears. And we'll gently come out of it the way we came in, going all the way up to shoulder stand. And if you want to drop the hands and go down vertebrae by vertebrae, lowering the hips slowly, gently coming down, making sure the back feels good. We can grab our yoga block and then stick it underneath your tailbone, really making sure that it's comfortable. You can test the stability by lifting your feet up, your legs up, and if the block doesn't wiggle, you're good to go. Setting the feet down, bringing the heels to your hands. Let's do 5 slow bridges, breathing in on the way up, exhaling on the way down. Let's do 4 more. And on this last one, let's leave the hips up high for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Setting the hips on the block very slowly. Adjusting your shoulders down and gently kicking the feet out. Letting your body completely relax and be draped over the block with your hips high. Breathing into the low back, that whole space that's lifted up. We're breathing into that area. Each breath creating a little bit more space in the low back. A little bit more ease of being here, and relaxation in the body. Let's really slow down the breath for 3 more rounds. And bending the knees, bringing the feet in towards your hands. Gently lifting up to remove the block. We're gonna bring both knees in, and that should feel so nice to smooth out all the edges of our back, any tension, and grounding down that space. And from here, we're gonna drop the right leg, so the knee is gonna stay bent. And we're going to take both hands on our left shin, bringing the head up. This is going to be a bit of a neck stretch. Leave the head up for just 2 more breaths. Really trying to get your nose and knee close here. And 1 more breath. Extending the right leg, really grounding down through the right leg. active feet, at least in the right one. We're going to take 3 more breaths here, keeping the head up. Grounding down the low back. Last breath. And then all the way down, setting your head down, pulling the knee in and grounding down even more through the right leg. Feel all the weight pulling down into the low back so it's flat on the mat. Deep breaths here. Very nice. Just going to switch sides so you can bend both knees. Bring the right one in. We're going to really hug the head in close to the knee, taking 3 breaths. Trying to slow it down. Rounding down the low spine. We're going to kick out that left leg. Ground that down as much as you can with an active foot. Bringing the head up a little more. 2 more rounds of deep breathing. Letting the low back be heavy. Setting the head down, pulling the right knee in even closer to the chest. Making sure that left leg is active as you can and all the way down into the mat. And deep breath here. And real quick, we're gonna straighten this leg. If you need your jujitsu belt, maybe it's in arm's reach. We're gonna get the strap on the foot, your right foot, and then we're gonna lengthen out the left leg, grounding down the same way we've been. And we're just gonna open out to the side on this one. You can keep your left hand firmly along the leg to make sure the hips down. So you make your way opening as much as you can. You can drop the right leg a little bit more. Let's take 2 deep breaths here, slowing it down. Maybe pulling the foot a little bit closer to your head. And 1 more breath. Bringing it back up center. Just gonna swap feet here. You can ground down that right leg. Have your hand on the thigh to make sure. And then open out towards the left. Your foot is up high to your head. And the idea with this one is that our flexibility with this can increase over time, where instead of using a belt, maybe your fingers can grab a hold of your big toe. This is called a hand to big toe pose. So it can be pretty hard to do without a belt, but something to work towards. Come back to center. Can move the belt out of the way. And just real quick into happy baby. Rocking side to side and grounding down the hips. Really drop your tailbone, your sacrum as much as you can. And then pull the knee bones down towards the mat. So it should kind of be an opposite pulling sensation. You're pulling down on the tailbone and pulling down with both knees. You can extend one leg, the other. Maybe try to extend them both out. Back to happy baby. Grounding down the hips and the knees. And bringing the legs in for a tight squeeze. Head to knees. Squeezing as much tension as you possibly can. And dropping down. You can extend out the feet. Extend out the arms, and we're gonna be here for 10 minutes. So if you need to put a blanket under your head or over your body, palms could be facing up, or one hand on your heart, one on your stomach. Just making all those adjustments now so that you're comfortable. And letting the whole body relax, starting with the head, letting the head be heavy, and the neck is heavy, muscles in the shoulders are relaxed and weighted down. And you can feel the buoyancy of your chest, the pattern of breathing. And the hips are heavy. The leg muscles are heavy and relaxed. And the ankles and toes are light. Feeling the whole weight of your body ground down into the mat. Feeling the support of the ground, where you can completely soften and let go.
And when you're ready, you can gently wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers, bringing a little bit of movement to the body. You can gently roll onto your favorite side, using your bottom arm as a pillow. Take a moment here to come back to the breath, back to your body. Feel the sensation, the work of your practice. Letting the sensation wash over your body. And gently pushing up to a seated position. And keep your eyes closed if you like. Pressing your hands on the thighs, down to the knees. Dropping your shoulders. We'll close out with 3 long, deep breaths, filling up the lungs as much as you can. Pausing at the top, emptying out the breath with an open mouth. Pausing at the bottom, deep breath in. Pausing, emptying out. Pausing at the bottom. Last one, deepest inhale you've taken all day. Pause at the top. Open mouth, emptying out the breath. Dropping the shoulders. Gently opening the eyes. Bringing your attention back. Thank you guys so much for practicing tonight. Hopefully your low back, your body feels good, your mind. Thank you for being here. It's good to see all of you, and special guest, my sister. That's so nice to have you there. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Have a good night. Appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see y'all.
Thank you, Christy.
Yeah,
Thanks,
take
Tom.
care. Bye-bye.
Great.